Right, we're off. Okay. Mr. Shaw, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. A bit hot today, but
it's too hot for me.
Yeah,
too hot for us Brits.
Yeah, I know. Well, the thing is, you know, if during all this period of limbo, it'd have been chucking it down every day and freezing cold, we'd have been moaning about that as well. So
I think as Brits, it's what we're really, really good at. We're good at whinging. We like having a good whinge, especially about the weather.
I know.
If you're struggling to think of anything to talk about, the Brits, oh, it's hot today. Yeah, complete strangers in the street. I think this is what we do.
Yeah. So thank you for doing this. Yeah, the whole point, as I've said on the other videos, is just to sort of catch up with people that, well, you're a bit more than well known on the local scene, but we'll come to that in a bit. Just to see what you've been up to, how you've been coping, and then just talk about the great musical journey that most of us guitar players go on. I've been playing for a while.
Oh yeah.
So, I suppose I've asked everybody this. I'll try and phrase it in a different way. So now lockdown's easing a little bit, although anyone's guess how long that will be until things change again. Now we've been easing a bit. Have you managed to get out a bit and feel like you're back to a little bit of normality?
A little bit, yeah. It's still a bit strange in the sense that I don't know, just not going around friends' houses and things like that, and still not giving my mum and dad a hug, things like that. It's just like it's just little things like that where you go, it's not quite normal yet, but I don't know. I think I've kind of adapted well to lockdown life. It's given me an excuse to just not go out and play guitar more. To be honest with you, it's like just sit and practice more. I find myself having the time to do it more, and honestly, just being more creative. So in a weird way, I've taken the positives on it and gone, well, all these things I've been meaning to do for a long time, I've made the most of it. But now that things are getting kind of back to normal, I look back and go, you know what, I used my lockdown time wisely, I think. So.
Oh, that's good.
Yes.
That's good.
That's the way I see it.
Yeah, and I think obviously it's going to have affected people. It goes without saying in different ways. So you've still been teaching, haven't you, over Skype and whatever?
I've been very, very lucky, through Skype and Zoom, because literally I was in the studio recording an album in Ipswich when lockdown in the UK was announced. Yeah. So me and the producer kind of looked at each other going, well, what do we do now? And it's like, well, we're here anyway. We might as well finish what I've got to do on my album. And then I remember just driving home from that and going, what do I do now? Because I can't teach anyone in person.
No.
And at the time, I think only maybe 5 or 10% of my students were online.
Right.
So it's like I've literally lost 90% of my work.
Yeah.
What do I do? Yeah. And then I just took every precaution I could. Thankfully, the self-employed government grant and things like that. But I was very, very fortunate. Within a couple of weeks, I managed to move a lot of my students onto online, and then I was able to get a lot of new students online as well. So I wasn't working as much as I was, but I didn't lose as much work as I was expecting. So it kind of worked out well. Thankfully, because I know a lot of my friends have not been in that position, so I can consider myself one of the lucky ones.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. It is 100% of my teaching is face-to-face. I've always been I've said this in a previous video, always been a bit sceptical of the Skype FaceTime thing, but and obviously in the run-up to all this first kicking off, people start to talk about it, what we're going to do, and I start to think, well, it'll be all right. And then it was the few days before, in the build-up to lockdown had been announced, I just started getting these texts from students and parents saying, oh, we're going to have to hang off, for the time being. So when the first 2 or 3 came in, I sent a message out to everybody saying, look, we know what's going to happen. All lessons from such and such a date are going to have to be online. And touch wood, thank you to everybody, apart from 2 who say they will restart when we can get back face-to-face, but everybody's done it.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
So, but it's a bit, it's a few things to iron out because it was completely new to me, having come from like driving to everybody's house. But no, it's the way forward, isn't it? I think we're going to be doing it for a while.
It is. It made me realise how much I've spent on fuel getting between people's houses.
Me about it.
I was like, they're going, right, well, that's actually saved me some money.
Yeah.
Even if I lose a couple of lessons, it's like, I would have spent that on fuel.
Yeah.
So it's like little things like that where you go, actually, it's not been that bad. I've sort of adapted to it.
Yeah, how much were you spending on petrol then, Rich?
I probably a good 30 quid a week.
Yeah, I did too. 30, 40 quid, yeah.
Something like that. It was about a full tank, maybe 40 quid, but so maybe just under a full tank in my good old trusty Fiesta. Getting round everybody was every single week, just getting in fuel. So in a weird way, it's like I've saved that, 4 lots of that a month.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? So I can see the merits of it. However, I do still miss face-to-face. Luckily, I've got a few of them back. And the first thing we did, and I made a point of this, I was like, right, after doing all these lessons online where we can't play together because of that slight delay, I'm like, right, this lesson, we're going to have an hour of we're jamming.
Yeah.
We're jamming, we're going to play songs together, we're going to play along with a record. And you could just see both me and my students going, oh, we needed that.
Yeah.
I think that's the bit I've missed the most.
That's the worst bit, isn't it?
Teaching.
Yeah.
Everything else in teaching, I found like we could find a way around it.
Yeah.
I've been making use of WhatsApp, going, right, what I'll do is I could send good old Guitar Pro, send tabs online, so at least it's like anything we cover in lesson that I've not pre-prepared, I can quickly send some tab out, email them to them, brilliant. It's not a problem. Anything technical, any scale stuff, even learning songs you could do. But the only thing we couldn't do was play together.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was like, even like I started sending like WhatsApp videos and stuff. If we had WhatsApp, I'd record a video and go, right, okay, this is what we covered in class. Here it is slow, here it is up speed. You can rewind it to your heart's content, which sometimes I do that in the lesson, but they do it on their own smartphone if they felt like they need to do it. So at least with technology being the way it is, at least it made it so I could adapt. And to be honest with you, there's a lot of stuff like that, but I thought, well, to be fair, moving forward, I think I'm going to just do that anyway, even if with in-person lessons.
Yeah, I think
so
I'm going to...
Made me adapt a little bit.
Yeah, I think I'm going to end up like two days a week when I'm in over the other side of Derby all day. The difficulty is going to be as far as I see it, for people like us who sort of do it in people's houses, is trying to work out who wants you to go back to face and who wants to keep doing it over the internet, because you obviously can't go and do a face-to-face lesson and be back at home in enough time to do, you know what I mean? It's going to be
that's
the logistics
the thing.
of it.
You're still going to end up with a position where you're like, I've got a couple now where I found myself, luckily I've got a lot of students I teach from home, so that makes it easier for me. But then there's still a lot of side, like say, where I do the other side of Derby for where I am.
Yeah.
And it's those ones where you're like, everyone's gone, no, I'll stick with those. And there's like one lesson who's like, no, I'd rather have it in person. You're like,
I know, how you going to,
all right. And I kind of make a point of it where I'm just like, all right, while I'm over there, I'll probably visit some friends or stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I think what I'll end up doing is that 2 days a week or have to stay maybe for the foreseeable as online lessons, and then the other days where I've got some gaps where I can but I do feel slightly nervous about going back to people's houses, if I'm honest.
I've gone back to some people's houses where I know we can easily socially distance, and I always turn up in a mask unless if they're comfortable with me not wearing a mask, I'll have to take it off. But there's some people who are like, oh yeah, can we have lessons at our house again? And I'm there going, I'm not to be funny, but I'd rather keep it online just for now because I don't feel comfortable because we can't easily socially distance. So that's the only thing.
You're right about the jamming thing, because I do quite a few lessons that are where, especially at the moment, I can think of several students where we're working on improvisational skills. And you can obviously, I've been doing all those over the internet and going over, you could, here's the chord progression, you could play this scale, we're going to do it. But it's still not quite the same. Once you've gone through all that and then you need to play it together, the way around it I've found is because I encourage as many of my students as possible to get loop pedals. I've been giving them the chord progression, so they've been doing a bit of a lesson on how to use a loop pedal as well, putting the loop in, and then they can play over the top of it in the lesson, so that's worked quite well.
It's cool. I find just good old YouTube backing tracks. Like even if it's teaching a little kid just a basic E minor pentatonic open position thing, I just go, right, I'm kind of using technology to my advantage, which, to be honest with you, before this, I mean, I was doing it, but I wouldn't actively say to them, right, go on YouTube, do this, use this resource. I used to be like, practice this kind of thing, and obviously practice from all kinds of places, but this is what you want to do. We do this, blah, blah, blah. But now I find myself just naturally going, right, let's use WhatsApp, let's use YouTube, let's use technology at disposal to make the most of it. And I used to do that when I was teaching, lecturing in the universities. I used to use multimedia a lot more, but for one-on-one lessons, I felt like, I don't know, some kind of a distraction almost. Even teaching little kids, going, right, I'm going to show you a video of how somebody does it instead of showing them myself. But now I found that's quite inspirational in itself. It's like, right, while we're on YouTube, that was him jamming in E minor pentatonic. This was her jamming in A minor pentatonic. Now let's get an E minor backing track up, see if we can do the same. Let's take it in turns, you know what I mean? And even with the little kids, I find that's kind of made them a bit more inspired, for lack of a better word.
That's cool. I tell you what is a bit odd to think about. You were at the guitar show in Birmingham, weren't you?
I was,
Yeah, I saw you, and I was just going to come over and introduce myself and speak to you. Someone from a stand grabbed you. And, and then we went. I was there with my dad. He's probably had enough, so we had to go over. But that seems weird. I was thinking about this the other night, thinking, blimey, that was in. When was it? In March? Wasn't it?
February.
February. And now thinking back, well, this was all sort of just starting to kick off then, and it seems odd that we were walking around, sort of touching all these guitars and all that, and then a few weeks later. Well, not long after, we were not going out anywhere.
I think it literally was a few weeks later.
Yeah,
I remember I went to that guitar show. It was probably 1 or 2 weeks later. I was in the studio.
Right.
And I'd been in the studio for like a week when lockdown was announced. So it must have been like 2 or 3 weeks after when lockdown in UK started. So it's mental to think. It feels like a different age. And it was, 6 months ago?
I know. So have you been in a guitar shop yet? Recently?
I've not been in a guitar shop recently because I don't trust myself in guitar shops.
You and me both.
So it's one of those things where I just torture myself, especially with, I don't know if you know, but I've got a baby on the way. I'm my partner's first baby. Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's like, right, okay, I could buy this, but let's wait until we see how much nappies cost and food and clothing for a kid before I go splurging on a new PRS.
Yeah. You'll be in for a shot. Yeah, I tell you that. Yeah. No, I keep seeing. I haven't been in one, but I keep seeing. Where was it? Guitar in Birmingham. I noticed they said something. I don't know whether they're still appointment only or not, but the pictures they got up, all the guys working there have got like nitrile gloves on before when they're touching the guitar. And I thought, God, if you're going out, they're going to give you some like latex gloves to put on before you touch anything. Because how can they sanitize a guitar neck after you've played it? They can't.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you could spray it down and scrub it down and everything, but every little bit, the strings, the frets, the grub that gets like right in the fret. I think they could probably remove 99.9% of bacteria, but I don't think they can get rid of everything. And it's made me kind of skeptical about going into guitar shops.
Yeah.
But guitars, the way I see it, guitars aren't the only reason we go into a guitar shop.
No.
You know what I mean? I think it's easier to go, I know what pedal I want or what amp I want, and I don't think you need to worry about spraying that stuff down.
No.
It's because you're not as hands-on with a lot of that stuff.
That's true, yeah. Right. What was your first guitar then, Rich?
I can't remember the make, but the very first guitar I got I remember it was Christmas 1996, so I would have been 11 at the time, when I just got like a full-size nylon string acoustic, like I'm sure a lot of beginners did.
You got to start
with
on
action. That was about that high, and
yeah.
that was it. And my mum and dad. To be fair, I did have a guitar before that when I was maybe about 7 years old. But I think I just went on it and thought that was really, really cool. And because I always wanted to play guitar, but mum and dad were like, "No, they got me one," and then I think I was just too young to grasp the idea of it. Like I've had with some of my students.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just a bit too. Maybe like the idea of playing guitar, but they don't do it. But then when I was 11, I was like, right, I really want to do it now. I really want to do it. And they're like, right, we'll get you a cheap nylon string classical guitar for Christmas. See how you get on. They're like, we'll give it a year and then we'll talk about getting an electric guitar. But they're like, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it properly. So we'll as part of your Christmas present, we've booked you like something like 5 or 10 lessons up front. And so in January 7th, 1997, why I remember that, I don't know. But yeah, January 7th, 1997, my brother got a bass guitar, weirdly enough, on the same day, but an electric bass guitar on the same day I got that acoustic. And we both got signed up for lessons with the same tutor. So me and my brother were having lessons at the same time. And our guitar teacher was really, really good in the sense he was like, right, what do you want to learn? What are you into? But the first thing he taught me was like A, D, and E. Right. And at the same time, for my brother, he was like, right, here's the A string, the D string, the E string. So right from day one, me and my brother were jamming together.
That's cool.
Really cool. And it was like even just going A, 2, 3, 4, A. And my brother's going A, 2, trying just working on our timing and just getting the right from day one, which I thought was really, really cool of that guitar teacher. But it wasn't until maybe, I think it was Christmas the following year, so Christmas 97, before it's going into 98, that's when my mum and dad were like, okay, he's getting really serious now. Because I was learning pretty quickly, to be honest with you. I just, from day one, I think I was just very lucky to have such a great guitar teacher who just like, I couldn't even tell you how good a guitar player he was, because I don't know if you find this from teaching. It's like, I think a lot of our students don't really know how good we actually are because they get to see you play like Green Day, and that's probably the most technical thing. Nothing against Green Day, I love Green Day, but that's probably the most technical thing they'll ever see you play for years, you know what I mean? So but I thought that he was really, really good like that, where he went, right, I'm going to show you stuff that excites you. I'd be like, what about Hendrix? And it's like, well, I won't be able to play Hendrix in a million years, but he'd play like literally the first couple of notes in like third place, just go, dum, bum, bum, bum. And I was like, oh my God, and it would just inspire me. And literally, I just found myself playing it all the time. So when my mum and dad realised that, they were like, yeah, this just isn't a passing thing. We'll get him that electric guitar that he really, really wants. So that electric guitar was a Hohner Professional, it was called, a Hohner Professional, which was a Strat copy, which was like a really dark green that you could see the wood grain in, and it had like that kind of marble-looking scratch plate on it. I remember thinking that looked really posh. Like my 12-year-old brain is going, oh, that looks more expensive than it is. It's amazing. But the problem with that guitar is I was massively into Metallica at this point, and it had a vintage trem. And me being the Kirk Hammett fanboy that I was just dive bombing and doing all this to the point where basically that guitar just went out of tune so quickly. It was like beyond repair. It's so much abuse. So those were kind of my first acoustic guitar, my first electric guitar.
Right. And was there so at that point then, where sort of, would you say Metallica were the catalyst to you wanting to play electric guitar? Or
I think it happened way before Metallica. Like I was always, even from my grandparents listened to a lot of just 50s and 60s music that was very guitar driven.
Right.
So I was always kind of aware, growing up with a lot of, like, the Beatles were always on the radio, the Rolling Stones, just from the pop music of when my mum and dad were really little, when my grandparents would have been in their 20s. So we had like the 60s kind of pop music, but we also had the 50s rock and roll and rockabilly stuff that I really, really liked. My dad was massively into country music as well, so obviously there's a lot of guitar and pedal steel and stuff that I was kind of always just drawn to it, but it was my parents' love of bands like Queen and T-Rex and Prince and stuff like that made me like more of aware of guitar in something outside of a rockabilly country context. But it was that moment when I think I was 11 years old when I was already a massive Queen and Prince fan by this point, which being a Prince fan at 11 years old is kind of weird, given the lyrical content. But it was, when I was 11 years old, I remember it was that summer of 1996 when Load by Metallica came out. I just happened to catch it, like the music video for Until It Sleeps came on, and I was like, what the hell is this? It was the first time I heard anything like that. Like I'd already been drawn to Queen and the kind of heavier rock style Queen, but this was another level in guitar playing, and I was like, this is amazing. Got the album and then heard guitar solos on that, like I'd never heard before. I just wasn't exposed to that kind of guitar playing. And then I was like, this is it. This is my new favourite band. It just became a thing. And I bought Load and Injustice for All about a week apart. I couldn't believe they were even the same band because they just looked like a different band. They sounded like a different band, but they were called the same thing. But I loved both equally, which is why I still to this day think Load and Reload get an undue amount of hate. But for me, at 11 years old, getting into rock music, Load was the perfect gateway into just rock and metal and getting into heavier styles of music. And I think a lot of people don't appreciate for Metallica for how versatile they were. Like, as a guitar player, me getting into guitar playing, even at a very young age, you start to realise, well, there's guitar solos, there's the chunky rhythm stuff, but there's a lot of finger-picking stuff, a lot of quieter sections, a lot of harmonies. It was almost like a guitar player's dream, especially being exposed to that for the first time. I was like, oh my God, there's more on the guitar that you can do than just go, which is what I was kind of hearing before, or some big rock riffs like from Queen. I was like, oh my God, there's actually more to it than this. And so I think Metallica were the biggest catalyst in terms of going, this is what I want to do.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I agree with you about Load. I think it's a much maligned. That period's much maligned.
Yeah, it is. I think people just went, sellouts. And I always consider Metallica didn't sell out. They just did what they wanted to do. They became so successful that they went, we're going to do what we want. And I think to me, that is the opposite of selling out.
Yeah, I think, I'm a little bit older than you, right? So, I would say that even to this day, I suppose if I was listening to Metallica now, I'd still like listen to. It's such a cliche, innit? The earlier stuff. But I think, it was just a band and a natural progression, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah, I think a lot of people have got to remember how young they were.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know about you, but bands I was in during my late teens, throughout my 20s, now into my 30s, it's like, Metallica were like, 18 when they formed, like 20 when Kill 'Em All came out. I remember what my first album was like. I was like 20 or 21. And it's nothing like the kind of music I listen to or want to make now.
Yeah.
And I think people forget that. It's like they were 20 when like Kill 'Em All came out. 21 when Ride the Lightning came out. 23 when Master of Puppets came out, or 22, 23. And they're going, that's insane to write those 3 albums so young. But they're still trying to find themselves as musicians and push the boundaries of what they do.
Yeah.
And I don't know, at 20, I was a very different person at like 21 to how I am 35.
No, it's a bit of a polarising debate, isn't it? Because I think there's probably a lot of Metallica fans who are like everything up to a certain point and nothing after it. Yeah. And then ones who came to them later who like everything, probably and prefer the sort of more recent stuff. It's that old debate. I had a bit with Bob Lane, not a debate we had, but he was saying that like Van Halen, you're either a David Lee Roth Van Halen fan or you're a Sammy Hagar. And I'd probably say that I'm more of a Sammy Hagar Van Halen fan because that's when I got into them.
Me too, yeah. I did like both. I loved both, don't get me wrong, but I think I was just more drawn to the songwriting of Sammy Hagar era.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. I think. Oh God, Bob will have words with me about this, but yeah. So if you think about the '70s, early the rough stuff of Van Halen, it's very guitar orientated, focused, and it's riffs.
Yeah.
Whereas you're quite right, the Hagar stuff became much more song focused, didn't it?
Yeah, and when the guitar solos came in, it wasn't a look what I can do. It's a what I can do. Now let me make this as musical as possible while also showing what I do. And so to me, that was, again, it's that maturity. Like, and this is why I don't know if this is an appropriate thing to talk about, but it's like Aerosmith pre-drugs and post-drugs. It's like, it's like,
I know.
I don't know. Some people have that debate, whereas I love it all. I love it all because I got into Aerosmith with like the Nine Lives album, for example. Which was like a year after Load came out. So I got into Aerosmith. Then I think Nine Lives is an amazing album. It talked to a lot of Aerosmith fans from before that, and they're just like, "What the hell are you on about? It's awful, made for MTV, awful stuff." And I was like. They were good songs. They were great songs. Yeah. Less rock and roll driven, but just good songs with still great playing.
Again, cliche time. I mean, to me, if I was going to listen to Aerosmith, I'd listen to the earlier albums just because I like because they went a bit too many ballads on the more recent stuff. It's interesting, isn't it, how polarizing a band's output can be.
Yeah, and I just find it very strange. Like, I know some people are like, "Oh no, Metallica sold out, I have to kill them all. Love Lightning's awful." Yeah. It's like, because they are two very different albums, but they're a year apart. But it's like, but look how much progression happened in that year. Yeah, you don't see that from artists nowadays. No. So they're still finding themselves and developing, and it seems like a weird thing now where people don't really give them a chance.
Well, are you an Incubus fan?
I am, yes, very much so.
Well, you see, I think their more recent output has been... They've tried, like, the If Not Now, When album. I'm not quite... I really like the last album, which is it's just called 8, I think, isn't it?
8, yeah.
But I hate the production.
Yeah, production-wise, I wasn't a fan of, and I think that let the album down, but the songs were good.
Really good. A real hark back to some of the earlier stuff.
Yeah.
But, I tell you what I hate about... Sorry, I was going to say, what I really dislike about that album, the latest one, is the bass drum.
I'll be honest with you, I've not heard it. Well, I listened to it to death when it came out and then find myself kind of not wanting to go back to it. So this reminds me, I really should give it another chance, because I did like If Not Now, When. I did like that. I think there's some great songs on it. But it just seemed like those last few Incubus albums, I don't know what it is, they just kind of just went completely under the radar. There were Incubus fans who didn't even know they'd been released.
No, I think
weird.
I think they've been, again, I've used the word again. They've been quite polarised in those recent albums. If you read, sort of, go on some of the fan sites and that. But again, I think it's just a band that they're just trying to do what they. It doesn't sound forced. It sounds like what they want to do.
Exactly, and to me, that's everybody go, "Oh, we sold out," when like I know from Incubus fans who are like, "Oh, Morning View, we sold out because we chilled out," and it's like. No, they're doing what they want to do. Again, about Metallica album, I don't see it as selling out. I see it as selling out when you cater to what the fans want. Yeah. Which there's a lot of pressure for bands to do that. I know, God, the band I'm in, we have that pressure all the time. But you just go, you know what? We've got to be happy first. And to me, is the most rewarding thing you can do. Is where you go, right, we want to do what we want to do, but it also happens to go down when we're fans. Yeah. And Incubus were very, very lucky in that sense. Like, we did what we want to do, and Morning View became a huge thing. I remember when I bought A Crow Left of a Murder after Morning View, and I was bitterly disappointed.
Well, yeah. Yes,
but now I listen to it and go, this album's amazing. Yeah. I just wrote it off because it wasn't like Science or Morning View, but I enjoyed Incubus for that, because every album was so different. Yeah. And for that point in my life, I was like, 18, 19 when A Crow Left of Murder came out. So at that point in my life, I was just like, no, this isn't for me. This is not the Incubus for me. But then I went back to it a couple of years later. Yeah. And I was like, this is a great album. I really regret kind of slagging it off at the time.
Sometimes we have to get over ourselves, don't we? And just accept that they're making the music they want to make.
there are some albums I do go back to now going, I didn't like it at the time, but now I'm a bit older. I go, you know what? That was a really good album, but it either came out at the wrong point in my life. Maybe I just wasn't ready or mature enough or musically accepting of that kind of album. Or just in general, it was just there's loads of bands now I can think of, had they released a certain album 10 years later, it would have been a huge hit. Yeah, it did go down well with the fans at the time. No. So it's I think that's at the end of the day. I remember Freddie Mercury saying it about the whole Hot Space album. He was like, at the end of the day, it's just an album. Yeah. There'll be more albums. If you don't like it, great.
Wait a bit.
If you do like it, great. Yeah. Wait a bit. We'll do another album. You might enjoy that one. You know, and it's almost like that. I think because obviously with us, music is our life. Guitar playing is our life. We are passionate about it, but at the same time, it's only an album. You know what I mean? And I kind of have to take that into consideration even when I'm making albums. It's like, I love it. I enjoy it. If it doesn't go down well, hey-ho, we'll do another one.
I'll do another one. Yeah. So tell me a bit about your band history then, and then we'll talk about Cradle of Filth. But when did you start your first band then?
That's a very good question, because it's a bit blurred in terms of pretty much when I first started playing guitar. There was like, it just seemed like this was like year 7 at school. Like everybody just seems to start. It's really cool when you're in secondary school to start playing instruments. Yeah. And I think I was in with that. So I had a mate who would start playing drums, and then my brother was playing bass. Another mate who was playing guitar. We were having guitar lessons, but we were also teaching each other what we'd learned in our guitar lessons. So it was almost like I was getting 5 times the amount of guitar information. There was no YouTube, no online tabs, no nothing like that, which makes us sound really old when you say stuff like that. Yeah. But it was like I was either learning stuff by ear or what my guitar teacher taught me, but also my mates were going, oh, my guitar teacher taught me this riff. Oh, show us that. And it was just like this kind of thing. So it was almost like this weird blur where this kind of school band kind of happened, which wasn't taken seriously. We didn't even have a name, but we used to play in like school assemblies and stuff like that, playing songs we'd kind of written that consisted of like G, C, and D, and because that was the technical know-how we had at the time. But we were at least writing songs and trying to do stuff, even with our very, very, very limited knowledge of the instrument, which I thought was, looking back on it, it's like that kind of innocence to go, well, I've learned 3 chords, let's form a band. Whereas, which obviously is a joke, but at the same time, you're thinking, you can't form a band with 3 chords. But we did. We were like, this is great. Going to do all these Metallica covers that we actually can't play, but let's give it a go anyway. Like this kind of youthful naivety that I think, and like weirdly enough, you grow out of the more you know about an instrument. But anyway, so there was that. But then I also was very lucky, obviously, with my brother being a bass player. He had joined a band doing like Oasis and Robbie Williams cover songs, just for the sake of playing. And their guitar player had left, and that band was a band called Eclipse. So I did my first ever gig with them when I just turned 14 at their mum and dad's. Well, it was the guitar player and drummer. But it was lead guitar player and drummer. Their mum had a 40th birthday party at Morley Hayes. Oh, right. That was going to be my first gig with them.
That's very impressive.
And that was what it was. I was like, all right. And there is video footage of it. My first ever gig, really. Right. And we played 3 Oasis songs, 3 Robbie Williams songs, 1 Queen song, I think it was as well. We played Hammer to Fall, where I'd only just learned how to do an F bar chord. So I'm trying to play Let Me Entertain You by Robbie Williams, and I'd only just learned how to play an F. So I'm there going, this is going to be interesting. First song I ever played in front of anybody was like 3 bar chords in it. Let's hope my hand doesn't give up halfway through. But so that's what happened. That was a band called Eclipse. And then slowly over the years, 4 of those 5 members stuck around. The singer left when we started kind of writing our own stuff. Just kind of wasn't really doing it anymore. And we were getting into like bands like Thin Lizzy and doing all the twin guitar stuff. And then it slowly morphed into getting heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier. That band turned into NG26.
Oh, right, yeah.
Now it's weird when I say that. It's like we're a completely different band, but like 14 years old, growing up. And then basically when we were 21, did our first album as NG26. Right. So it was weird. It was the same members played the same instruments, doing all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But Chris went from playing lead guitar to just being the singer, and I became the only guitar player because he just basically wasn't practicing guitar anymore. I mean, I took over as lead guitar. I mean, he was like, "You could just keep playing guitar from now on, mate, and I'll just sing." He was more interested in singing. So that's what happened with NG26, and we were doing that band forever. Technically still in that band. We're still rehearsing every now and again and writing tunes during lockdown, and it's just a bit of a fun project. Like, we don't take it seriously. We used to go off on tour and support some bigger bands and all this kind of stuff, and we were taking it really seriously. We were signed at one point, and making music videos and doing all that kind of stuff, and it just never seemed to get, as I'm sure a lot of people have this story, have got the bands where it's like everyone's just like going, "Oh, they're going to be massive, they're going to be massive," and it's like, there it is, and you're just figuring, how can we get to, and we just never got to that next level, no matter how much we put into it. Around this same time that NG26 were doing their thing, that's when I got a call from Danny Beardsley, who was doing Isolysis at the time, and Isolysis, I think, we're breaking up, and he was like, "I've got this project, it's just like a solo project at the moment, but we've got like a drummer and a bass player, and through doing all the home recording, it's become very clear we need another guitar player and a singer." So he phoned me up. He was like, "He always liked my style with NG26. He was like, how would you feel about doing a 2-guitar lineup, doing harmonies?" Because him being a massive Thin Lizzy fan as well, I was like, "Mate, I've missed playing guitar harmonies. I'd love to do it." And I love Danny as a player and a songwriter. I was like, definitely. And that band became Emperor Chung. And then it became really weird because Emperor Chung, within a year of forming, we were playing Download Festival. So it's stuff like that where we're like, so I was doing all this stuff with NG26, trying to do stuff, and then Emperor Chung kind of came in. I had time for both. I was like, I can do this. Yeah. And I was also doing an acoustic covers band at this point called the Strange Trio, where I was doing acoustic guitar, we had a pianist, my brother on double bass, and a singer. So we're called the Strange Trio because the singer's called Lauren Strange. That is her name, Lauren Strange. So we're called the Strange Trio as play on it because there's 4 of us in the band. But anyway, so it's both ways. So Emperor Chung, NG26 and the Strange Trio, I was basically gigging with them all the time. And it was weirdly enough how I got into Cradle of Filth. The reason why I mention all these bands in quite a bit of detail, I think it's important to go, this is how I got into Cradle of Filth. Right. Because NG26 did a demo back when virtually nobody was self-recording. We found a guy who lived down the road from us who was doing like home demos for bands. And he was like, "Yeah, chuck us £100. I'll do like a 3-track demo or something. I record a 3-track demo." And he was maybe like 6 or 7 years older than the rest of us. And actually like 10 years older than the rest of us. And we're just there going, "That's cool, we can finally do a demo and it's not going to cost us the earth," and all this kind of stuff. And we just stayed in touch over the years. Over the years, he became branching out from that, just making his own recordings, to going out and doing sound for live bands. And he ended up doing sound for God knows how many bands. He works for so many bands. Cradle of Filth being one of them. Yeah. So that happened with NG26. So I had that contact from there from years before I joined Cradle of Filth. Then when Emperor Chung did Download, I happened to bump into him backstage because I think Lacuna Coil were playing. I think it was Lacuna Coil, and he was doing sound for Lacuna Coil. So I bumped into him. That's when he introduced me to some of Lacuna Coil's crew, or crew from other bands, because at festivals, obviously, loads of bands are there. And he'd be like going, "Oh, meet this person, meet this person." Yeah. And that was basically a lot of Cradle's crew was born out of those bands, but Cradle weren't on tour at the time, so obviously. So I got to meet technically Cradle's crew as well. And then that's when it was like, "Oh yeah, what are you doing now?" And I'd see him doing sound for some of the musical theatre stuff I was doing as well. Right. So I'd be like doing, I don't know, playing guitar for like Jesus Christ Superstar or something. He'd be doing sound, like, because he's off tour. He's like, "Oh, it's just a bit of cash between tours." Just catching up. So I'd see him around then. We met at Download, introduces me to the crew. 6 months later, I got a call. Basically, Paul, the previous guitar player, had either left by this point or said, "I'm just not doing the tour. I refuse to do the tour." Right. This was like 3 or 4 weeks before the tour was meant to start. So they're like, "Shit, what do we do? We can't exactly advertise the fact that we're looking for guitar players because it might affect ticket sales if people find out Paul's not going to be there," because he was a very well-loved member of the band. Right. That's when Matt, the sound guy for Cradle of Filth, who I've known for years, he was like, oh, I can't think of anyone. Like, basically, Cradle went for crew members going, anybody you know, just anybody who can just fill in. It's not like they're going to be in the band forever. They're just going to fill in for one tour. Anybody you know. Because apparently they've been asking loads of people around the world who were in big bands if they'd do it. And they're like, yeah, I'll send a demo. A video audition, I should say.
Right.
And they never did. There was like 15 guys around the world who were in big bands. We're like, I'll get you an audition soon. And they didn't. They were like, and they're leaving it right to the last minute. So on the day of the final day of auditions that were meant to be, Cradle were like, we're really struggling. No one's getting back to us. Anybody know anyone? And Matt was there going, I don't know. And that's when, the reason why I mentioned like meeting all Cradle's crew, I think the tour manager at the time said to Matt, how about that guy we met at Download? You know him. He's obviously a good player. You've been told how good a player he is. Why don't you ask him? Yeah. So it's not like Matt thought I'll Matt Rich. He went, I don't know, I can't think of anybody. And it's not until somebody, what about that guy we met at Download? Yeah. He can obviously play. If he's playing Download, he can obviously handle playing on a big stage and stuff. So thank God I played Download, because without that, I probably wouldn't have got the job. No. Because they went, well, what other experience have you got other than playing Download? I was like, playing pubs and clubs and musical theatre stuff. So that's it. So
that's it on the deal.
That's the thing. And so without Download, I playing Download with Emperor Chung, I wouldn't have been in Cradle of Filth. No, right. So it's like this weird. The reason, sorry, I know I'm going on a bit.
That's all right. No, it's good.
It's like all these kind of weird stepping stones that took almost like 10 years of building this up, and then all of a sudden I get the call just from a few guys that I've met over that 10-year period.
But I guess that's how these things. Yeah, these things can work. You know, they need somebody. Oh, I know a guy. You know,
and that's how it happened.
Yeah.
Like when I met Matt 10 years ago, I had no idea he was going to be doing sound for like the Kuna Coil and Cradle and all these kind of people. He just did his own thing and I did my own thing. We're like, oh my God, that's amazing. And I started making a living as a guitar teacher and playing guitar for musical theatre and just doing my bands on the side just for fun, because obviously not making any money from those original bands at all. Yeah. So it's so we're just like, oh, brilliant. And then it was just one of those kind of, not to sound too corny about it, but one of those kind of planet aligns things.
Yeah. So it's like, how long have you been in Cradle now?
I got the call. It was tail end of December 2013. Right. So in December, so we're talking like just over 6.5 years. Yeah. But it was early February 2014 was when the tour was. So basically, I had like probably 4 or 5 weeks to learn the set, and then just go off on tour. And that was it. As far as I was concerned, I was just the session guy for the tour. Right. So when the last show came along, it was like, oh, everyone get some photos and like, oh, thank you very much, really appreciate this. It's a brilliant thing to put on the CV. Yeah. My goal was to do a European tour by the time I was 30. Right. And I was 28 when I joined Cradle. Right. Was I? Yeah, I was 28 when I joined Cradle. So I was like, if anything, I've just ticked a massive thing off the bucket list. Yeah. I'm happy as Larry. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Yeah. I appreciate that. I was going to go back to teaching in schools and doing all the stuff I was doing. And then on the last day, the day after that last show, we were on the ferry on the way back, just kind of going, oh, it's a shame I'm going to have to do that, because I really enjoyed that. And I was just having this chat with Danny. And Danny went, well, do you want to keep doing it? I was like, what do you mean? Because I was just under the impression I was just doing this one tour and that was it. He says, well, it's not been announced yet, but Paul has officially left. Right. And we were going to start looking around for somebody else, like one of the named guys and all this kind of stuff. But playing-wise, you're a good fit. Stage show-wise, you're a good fit. Personality-wise, we all got on really, really well. There was like no drama. We just got on really, really well with everybody. They knew I was a good player. They were like, well, do you write? I was like, yeah, I can write. They were like, well, do you want to start writing the new album with us? Wow. And be a member? I was like, and that was it. And it was like, okay, now what do I do? So then went back to teaching schools, but I'm writing the album as like, because it wasn't official. I was in a band still, so I couldn't really tell anybody that I was writing the album and was a member. So I was writing the album and doing all my things as usual. There just didn't seem to be enough hours in the day. So I was still keeping the bands going, doing all this stuff. And then I still kept that going until like the end of 2015,
Right.
So I'd been in a band like a year, nearly 2 years by this point, when it was like, right, now I've got to quit teaching in schools. Because before this, I was doing tours, but they're like maybe 3 or 4 weeks long.
Right.
It wasn't too much of an issue. I could get someone in to replace me, to depth for me in schools and stuff while I went off on tour and all my private lessons and things. But then when it became, right, we're going to be on tour for like 6 months, it was like, well, I can't take 6 months away from it. So that's when I left teaching in schools and went with Cradle of Filth kind of full time.
Yeah.
And then the ever eternal thing that happens as session player life and touring life. It's like, right, great, I've got loads of work, I've got a tour coming up. And then as soon as the tour's over, you're like, now what? And then hence why I teach between tours and do sessions between tours, and still got to keep the money coming in. Yeah. Because I only get paid when we're on tour. So it's well, that's how it works.
Yeah. So you've played, looking back at sort of pictures and stuff, you've played some pretty big festivals over the past few years, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been so lucky. It's honestly not lost on me how lucky I was landing this gig.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, there are times where you go, oh man, this is tough, like where you're getting hardly any sleep and you're kind of thinking, I'm missing my family, I'm missing my girlfriend, all this kind of stuff, and you're just figuring. So there are the downsides of touring, but there's a lot of times I look back and go, you know what? I've had it really, really, really good. The big one for me, which there have been many big ones, but the big one was Main Stage Download.
Yeah.
That was the one where when I was 11 years old, picking up a guitar, watching like AC/DC live at Donington and Iron Maiden, the big Dunlop tyre in the background and stuff like that. And you're like, they're going, even Metallica footage of them with a Dunlop tyre in the background. Like, oh man, Donington is the hollow ground. And like, so being local to Donington, you kind of get, you obviously going to the festival all the time. Like even from when I first started going to Download and Ozfest and all this kind of stuff, I was at Donington. I was like, you know what, one day, wouldn't it be amazing to play that stage? And then in 2018 it happened, and I was just like, this is mental.
Yeah.
And it was I'm not going to lie, it was a very, very emotional day. I think I walked off. I'll be honest with you, that was the most nervous I think I've ever been for any gig in my life. But yet I don't really get nervous. I've never been nervous playing with Cradle of Filth apart from when I first joined.
Right.
And then it became like, well, you kind of get used to it. And then Download was like, I think it just meant that much. It was just like any other gig in a lot of ways, but it's just obviously it's just for how much it meant to me. And then I have no qualms about this. I'm definitely man enough to admit this, but I literally went off stage, got in the dressing room, and just cried my eyes out because I was just like, I did it. Yeah. I did the one thing in this world I thought I'd never be able to do. Yeah. But it was the thing I wanted more than anything.
Yeah.
And it happened. And then that was it. And it was like my life didn't drastically change after that moment, anything. No. It wasn't like I was a filthy rich rock star overnight or anything like that I probably thought when I was like 14 years old that it would be like, oh, everyone who plays on the stage is a millionaire. Wouldn't it be amazing to like live that rock and roll dream? Yeah. It's not like that at all. But the very fact I got to say I did it means the most to me. It was one hell of an experience that flew by, but at the same time was like, I'll never forget it. No, absolutely brilliant.
No, that's cool. It's just still, so it's I guess that's like the ultimate high that you could have as a player.
Definitely.
But did you even so you'd achieved this thing which was what you really wanted to do, right? There's obviously the euphoria. When you play any gig, if it's been a good gig, no matter where it is, you go. Did you, after you'd come off and you'd had the euphoria, did you have the thing that we still all get, the come down, or was it, or were you able to just think, well, I've achieved it. Anything after is just going to keep me up there?
I think what helped was that wasn't the last gig of the tour.
Right.
In a weird way. Had that been the last gig of the tour, and I'd be like, right, well, now I've got to like wait a year and a half before I go back on tour or whatever, I would have felt the come down more, I think, to be honest. But there was a come down because it was almost like, this is amazing. And I just soaked in the day. I think it was literally the day after Download where it was like, I just woke up in my own bed again going, now what? I kind of had this feeling that everything would change after that moment. I don't know why. And then obviously when it doesn't, everything's just the same. It was just another gig. You kind of go, oh, now what? It's almost like, well, now I need a new bucket list. And it's like this weird thing where it's like, well, I've achieved what I wanted in life, yet nothing's changed. And not to get sound too deep with it, it's like, well, obviously achieving all of my dreams doesn't equal happiness. Even though I am happy, it was like I just thought everything would change after that, and it didn't. It same old. I just for the only bonus is I got to play main stage download. So it was like, after doing that, strangely enough, I had more of an appreciation that I almost took for granted of playing pubs and clubs. Because I knew how hard I worked to get to that point. And then when you play pubs and clubs, you go, you know what? It's exactly the same feeling. Which sounds mental to say that. You play a pub in front of 10 people or download in front of 90,000 people. Which, weird enough, download isn't the most amount of people we've played in front of. But it just meant the most. I played to like 100, I think it was 120,000 people at Wacken, and I did that before. I'd been in the band like a year at that point, so that was mental. But it was just the fact that you go, you know what, after all this, and I've achieved everything I wanted to do, I'm incredibly lucky to say that, it all boiled down to one thing. Not to sound too hippy-trippy about it, it was like, I just love playing guitar and I love playing music. Because when I'm on that stage, I'm kind of in my own world anyway. So regardless of what size venue it is and how many people I'm doing it in front of, it's almost like this kind of selfish thing. I got that same rush from playing main stage download as I did playing at Morley Hayes when I was 14.
Well,
it's weird. It's really weird. I think a lot of people would probably hear me say that going, surely not. And I'm like, no, I still play for the exact same reasons I did when I was 11 years old. Well,
I'll always remember your first gig.
It's strange. What was your first gig?
My first gig was in my school hall when I was at secondary school. Must have been in what would have been fifth year to me. So the year before your A levels, right?
Okay.
I've not got what year is that in modern?
So you were like 16?
Yeah. But actually, probably 15. Yeah, I was one of the older ones. Something like that. And we played about 4 songs. So 2 of which I'd written. We did a cover of something. I can't remember what. And we came on because the singer in the band, who was one of our best mates, was a big Doors fan at the time.
Right.
So he sang "Break On Through" on his own, and it sounded. I can remember always being in awe of him. That our first gig, and he got the balls to get up, for one of better expression, to get up and do that. But wow. we had. I remember because the guy that was running it was in the sixth form, and he was a Morrissey wannabe.
Right.
He got the full outfit on and everything, right? Flower in the back pocket. Even.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. And he just saw us as little upstarts, you know. We were. So we got no sound check, which things never change. No sound check. We just went straight on stage to play. And my good mate Paul at the time, who played guitar, he was the other guitarist. He couldn't hear himself, so he ended up sitting down on the edge of the stage, on the edge of the drum riser, and just stop playing because he couldn't hear himself. And this is, obviously our lack of experience. We didn't know what to do. But I mean, you can still, I could give you so much. I'm not going to, but I could give you so much detail about it. It's just stuck in my, and it's the thing about, you play the first gig and you, right, I want to do it again. Where's my next one?
It is. I was absolutely terrified playing my first gig. The video footage we've got is me just staring at the guitar, rooted on the spot. Right. My guitar like down by my knees because I thought it looked really, really cool.
Really cool, yeah, but hard to play. Hard to play.
Dead hard to play, but I was like, but James Hetfield has it down here, so I'm going to play. And like, I barely play the thing, but I didn't really realize, I was just so nervous. There are times where you see me playing, I'll be like that, and there's that time where you see me go, oh God. Like about 3 times in my whole video, I look up and go, oh, that was the worst thing I could have done. It's almost like a don't look down when you're high up. Don't look down. Look out into the audience and went, oh God, it's really happening. It's really happening. But like you say, I remember every detail about that first gig.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it?
Their entire Cradle of Filth gigs that I can't remember happening. even gigs with NG26, Emperor Chuck, my memory, my girlfriend tell anyone this, my memory is awful at the best of times. It's like I remember what I need to remember, and everything else is not me. Like, it takes up vital space in my brain.
I'm probably guilty of that. Yeah. Do you know what
my
I get?
music knowledge is weird. Sorry, I was just going to say my music knowledge is strange. I remember anything musical, like who played drums on this record. Some session player, and what year, what day it was recorded. But stuff like what I had for breakfast, I can't remember.
Yeah, I get into trouble, Rich, because if my wife's talking to me, I was doing this yesterday because I'd just done some lessons and I took my guitar outside. Yeah. And I'm noodling away, and I can sing and play, but I can't talk and play at the same time.
No, definitely.
And it drives her mad.
I can't do it.
It drives her absolutely mad. Will you just stop that for a minute while I talk to you? And no, just going. The thing about my first gig that will always stick in my memory is that what we must have looked like, right? Because me and Paul, the guitar player, were both into hair metal. Right. So I'm up there with. I was ahead of time. I got really tight jeans on, but for a different reason to why people wear tight jeans now, right? Cowboy boots, paisley shirt, waistcoat. I can remember it all vividly. A white Aria Pro 2 guitar with a pointy headstock, right?
Nice,
and it wasn't a Floyd. It was some sort of Carla trend or something that really didn't stay in tune very well. And Paul's there. I don't know what guitar he got. I don't think he got his Ibanez, right? So there's us two, right? And there's the singer and the drummer, both indie kids into like Stone Roses and that sort of stuff, right? Yeah. I think they were into that then. And then the bass player was into like, I think he played that gig with us. I'm sure he did, Andrew. He was into like Swerve Driver and like real sort of out there stuff that even I would listen to. And then the keyboard player, he was into the Doors and stuff, but he didn't. He was just dressed like he was going out for the night. Right, so if you like looked at us, what a motley crew. Not literally, but you know what I mean, And we didn't do another gig after that, unfortunately. But the cool thing was we used to practice in my bedroom, full band kit, everything. Right?
We had the same in our drums.
Yeah.
So we were talking about this the other day, actually.
I got a full drum. I got a full drum kit in my bedroom. So obviously I was going to sit at it and play. But you see, look at my. My parents are both. My dad plays and taught me a bit. My mum's into music, or used to be. So they didn't mind us doing it. And then we're a detached house, so the neighbours didn't mind too much. But what a racket that must have been.
Yeah, we do feel sorry for our neighbours at the time because before they moved, they were like in an end terrace.
Right.
So we used to have, full band, full PA.
Yeah.
In this tiny room.
Yeah.
Literally, like all of us, like my brother's like here, his bass neck's like here in front of me. We're like playing along. God knows how we did that, and God knows how I don't think we had any complaints.
No.
Neighbours.
No.
I just think how we got away with that. And then we started rehearsing. We were very, very lucky early on with when we recorded clips that turned into NG26. When we were still doing covers, starting to write our own stuff. When it was for school holidays. We were so lucky, and this is what I mean. Obviously, I'm from Heanor, currently living in Heanor. I'm going to be moving to Kent soon, actually. My girlfriend's family are based in there, so I'm going to be moving in the next few weeks to Kent. But from Heanor, and Heanor's not exactly the rock capital of the world, but there's a lot of times where I look back and go, you know what? We had the support that I think a lot of kids nowadays don't have.
Yeah.
We were very, very lucky because Luckily, we had parents, obviously, who were very supportive.
Yeah.
But then we also, a guy called John, God bless his soul, isn't with us anymore. He used to own a pub called Ray's Arms in Heanor.
Oh, right, yeah, I know. My first,
one
of my band, I've practiced in there a few times, Yeah,
we impressed with it. We did loads of gigs there. I think we struck a deal with John. Right. I think one of our parents must have known John and went, well, do you mind if basically throughout the entire 6-week summer holidays, based on the first day of the summer holidays, we go in and set up our equipment upstairs in the rehearsal room. We leave it there for 6 weeks. Right. We can go, and we were kids, not even like a summer job or anything like that. I'm still only like 14 at the time. My brother and John were in the same year at school as well, so they were like 16. They didn't have, that was like the year where we didn't really have any commitments. It was just like, right, we're going to go in, and we almost treated it like a job. I think we were there like 10 till 4, something like that, every single day. Well, Monday to Friday at least. And we could just learn songs and jam songs. And I genuinely think that summer of 1999 made me go, this is what I want to do, because I was just living the dream, 10 till 4 every day. And John was there going, no, don't buy me anything. As long as you buy a Coke and a chip butty every day. Which probably cost about £2. You know what I mean? As long as you all buy a chip butty and a Coke, you can, every single day you're in, you can have it for free.
That sounds like a good deal.
And I was like, that was brilliant. So that's what we did. So basically, it cost us like a tenner each a week in chip butties and Coke, in exchange for basically play as loud as we want, play as many songs as possible, and we just all learned our craft in that summer then. And he was always wanting to put us on doing gigs. He was like, well, I'm not paying you because we're happy just to get gigs. And nowadays, and you mentioned Rob Lane. Without Rob Lane, I probably wouldn't have a career.
Right.
Genuinely hold Rob in that respect, and the guys from Dip in general, to be fair, because like we were just little kids, like say 14, just getting our first gigs. We need gigs, and we went to the Market Hotel, King of Prussia as it now is. We went to the Market Hotel, going, you put bands on. They're like, yeah, but you're like underage. We're not putting you on. And then all of a sudden, I think we got gigs basically supporting Rob Lane's bands at the Market Hotel. He was like, well, we need a support band. They can play, and so Rob Lane was always like, you need a gig? Yeah, you can come support one of my bands, kind of thing. And he was so supportive. Yeah. And I just thought that was amazing. Without people like John at the Raise Arms, which I don't give him enough credit the more I think about it, and our parents and Rob, and just people in the local scene were willing to like almost take a chance on young kids. Whereas kids nowadays, I don't know if you've seen it with some of your students, they're always asking me, if they are in a band, they're like, do you know anywhere about putting bands on? It's like, well, not really. No. Do you even know anyone who plays drums? It's almost like you don't have anyone in their school who plays bass or drums. Loads of guitarists going, I can't find anyone to form a band with. So they stop at this first hurdle. And it's kind of sad to see that. Because I don't know about you, but when I was at school, there's loads of people playing and loads of places we could play and get gigs. It just doesn't seem to be the case now.
No, I don't think it is. Weird. No, and I mean, the other thing as well, I find I've got a couple of my students in particular who are quite serious. They've got bands and they want to try and get playing more. But they're struggling to even find places to practice at the minute.
Yeah.
But
strange.
Yeah, because we'd be here forevermore if you had my views on the current sort of mainstream guitar scene. I'm not. I'll start ranting like my dad and like an old man if I do that. Right, quick. We've not even talked about guitars yet. So last few minutes, we need to geek out a bit. Right. So
okay, no worries.
Just tell me, just because obviously I know you're a PRS man through and through. What were you playing just before you started playing PRS?
Just before, right. I'll go back to that Hohner Professional. My
first
guitar.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Then when the whammy system basically went, I was very, very lucky. I always wanted an Epiphone Les Paul. Well, I always wanted a Gibson Les Paul.
Yeah.
But my dad was like, no way we're getting a Gibson Les Paul. He's so happy for it. And I was like, can I afford can I get an Epiphone? And he was like, absolutely not. I'm sorry. It's still too expensive.
Yeah.
If you want one, you're going to have to part exchange that. And you'd probably have to save up your pocket money as well. So I saved up all my pocket money from basically that summer till Christmas. And I was like, well, with the pocket money I've got, I can afford a guitar case. So if I buy the case, it's an incentive for me to keep saving me money to buy the Les Paul. My mum and dad, bless them, that Christmas, I got the guitar case. I was like, great. And I gave them the money for the guitar case. They went, the keys are inside. Opened it up, there's an Epiphone Les Paul in there. And I was like, probably cried my eyes out. I am a crier.
So am I. Don't worry about that.
That was brilliant. That I thought, you know what, Mum and Dad, you are the coolest people on the planet, because they just outright couldn't afford it. It was as simple as that. But my dad did whatever he needed to do to get me that guitar I really wanted. But he was like, right, now we'll part exchange your Hohner though. Let's get some money back off that. I was like, great. Yeah. And he gave me the money back that I'd been saving all year from my pocket money.
Oh wow!
So he says, keep that because you might want it for something else. I was like, my parents are ace. I love them. Love them to bits. They're just so supportive like that. And then, but then that guitar, weirdly enough, had microphonic feedback, microphonic pickups. So I was getting really bad feedback when we were playing live, constantly getting the volume off. That's where I learned to do it. So I still do that now. When I don't play volume off as quick as possible. That came from just having really bad pickups in my guitar. But that guitar got stolen from my dad's car. My dad's car got stolen. My car got retrieved, but all the gear had gone, and my brother's bass had got stolen as well. With that, I was playing with the insurance money from the Les Paul. I got a Jackson PS4, which was You remember those, the Performer series, which was budget range, and that's the guitar I really developed my style on, if anything, because I was really getting into soloing, and that's when I started really getting into Steve Vai and was able to play the Metallica solos, and I finally had a Floyd Rose so I could do them properly and all this kind of stuff. But that's when I was like, I got 2001 was when the PRS Santana SE first was released. I got a part-time job at Morrison's in Derby on the salad bar just to buy that
just to buy that. Wow.
Yeah, so I had my Jackson and the Santana, because the Jackson Floyd Rose, we started doing covers where we needed to like tune down and stuff. I was like, I can't do that. And I always wanted a PRS because a lot of my favourite Les Paul loving players, like Dan Donegan from Disturbed, Mark Schwantes when he was in Creed, and even people like Jim Root from Slipknot was using PRS at the time. All of a sudden, everyone's starting to use PRS, like in really early 2000s, Nickelback, things like that. And I was really into those bands. They're all using PRS. So I was like, right, well, I can finally buy one if I get a part-time job. So I bought it as myself as a Christmas present.
Right.
And then Chris, the singer in NG26, turns up with a full US. Bear in mind, we're 16. He turns up to school with a US Custom 24.
Wow!
I'm like, how the hell did you afford that? And he had a job at this point. He did 6 for me, and then I was like, I need to get a job. And he was like, no, I don't get paid much. I got it on this thing called finance. And that was it. I went the next day. I went to Play It Against Sam. It was called Play It Against Sam at the time. And then it was sound control and
whatever it's called.
When it was Play Against Sam, I went in and there was a PRS dealer where I got my Santana from, and I went, now's the time. If I'm ever going to have a proper US guitar, I'm going to do it before I've got other financial commitments in my life. I'm just basically going to work at Morrison's. I think it was like 90 quid a month for 2 years, something like that. Paid off the guitar, and that was this guitar. So that was that one.
Cool, nice.
So that was a 2001 PRS Custom 24, and I bought that brand new. But I part exchanged my Jackson for that. Right. I always regretted that because they gave me 100 quid for it.
100 quid, yeah.
100 quid. What's 100 quid off a PRS, really? It doesn't. It hardly makes a dint. But
especially not these days. Have you seen the prices these days?
Oh, these days it is getting stupid. Full stop. To be fair, I'm just very lucky. I'm endorsed, so at least I can. Get
I'm not.
But now there is that. I know how lucky I am to be endorsed by him, and that came about just because when I got the Cradle job. Emperor Shung and NG26, I was already on PRS's radar, but they were like, it's not really big enough to. But as soon as I got Cradle of Filth, literally like a week after PRS, were like, do you want an endorsement? I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. But I don't get the perks of the endorsement that everybody thinks I do. Yeah, this is the thing. Like, I know Cradle's a big band and all this, but there's a lot of endorsement companies that just. It's very rare you get free guitars. Right. I'll be honest with you, I've been very, very lucky. I've had 2 free guitars from them. As long as they're from an S2 or an SE range.
Right.
Because
you've got have you got a Starler?
I've got a Starler. I've got a Starler. The guitars are racked. I've got a Starler. That was one of the freebies. Yeah. And I got that because I was doing a lot of work between Cradle of Filth tours in cover bands and mass karaoke bands and all this kind of stuff. And I just wanted something with a Bigsby and like P90 style voice pickups. And I didn't have anything with those kind of pickups. So I was like, well, can I have that? And I also asked for basically a new backup for Cradle. So my backup for Cradle and that Starler are 2 freebies. Everything else has either been luckily half price from PRS or I've found them secondhand. Yeah. So I've only ever paid, apart from those first 2, the first Santana SD, which was about 600 quid at the time. Yeah. And the Custom 24 that I paid for on finance, I think they're the only 2 guitars I pay full price for. Right. They've all, so my love of PRS is very obvious, but it's. I agree with you. The price of guitars in general is going up. PRS especially, it's insane.
Yeah, this is I should know. Yeah, it's an 09. This is an 09 DGT.
Oh, nice. I still don't own a DGT. I need to.
It's the best. I mean, I've had about 13 PRS now.
Yeah.
I've got 2 at the moment. That's the most I've ever had in one go because you just can't. I can't afford to keep.
I'm getting rid of guitars now, especially with the move. I'm there going, well, these guitars don't even need anymore. You've got a baby to pay for. I've got a baby to pay for. You know what I mean? It's like. I mean, I was just going to say though, Rich. I paid. I think I got that in 10, so it's about 10 years old. And I'm sure it was like, I'm just trying to think. It was about, off the top of my head, it was no more than 1,600. I mean, these are over $3,000 now. I mean, this is just the standard. I mean, I'm not a mad. I've only ever had out those 13 PRS. I've only ever had one with birds. I just don't. Right. I prefer moons or dot. But yeah, I think if you look on like Peach Guitars, have got one at the moment. I can't remember if that's got birds or not. But it's a gold top. And I think it's 3,600. I mean, I'd never be able to afford that now. Even on finance. I mean, I've had a couple of guitars from Guitar because they do like buy now pay. This is not an advert for Guitar, but they do buy now pay in 12 months or whatever. And it is great because if you can afford the payments and you know you're going to be able to do it, you get the guitar, you put the money to one side each month, you pay for it after a year. Yeah.
If you've got the discipline, it's great. But I mean, at the best part of $3,500 at the minute, that's a lot each month when you're only a guitar teacher.
I know what you mean. It's a lot of money. That's the thing. I don't know if I should say this on camera, but
Go on, you can say what you like.
I'm going to be completely honest. Everyone knows how much I love PRS.
Yeah.
My 2 touring guitars that I take a tour with me in Cradle, they're from the S2 range.
Yeah.
They're amazing.
Why is that?
Absolutely amazing.
Just because they feel they work better for the material? Or?
I'll be honest with you, the S2 kind of happened by accident because I'll keep it short as I can, and I'm sure people have heard this story before. Basically, on my first ever festival with Cradle, so the first time I was ever going to play in front of like 30,000 people or however many it was a festival in Canada. And basically, all of our equipment got on the plane at London, but it didn't, apparently, that's what we were told, but it didn't arrive in Canada. So we were going, hang on. It turns out they didn't even put our equipment on the plane. They were like, don't worry, there's another plane that comes tomorrow. This time tomorrow, your equipment will be it. This time tomorrow, we're on stage. What do we do? So we ended up basically going to a local guitar shop called Steve's Music Shop in Montreal, which is kind of legendary in itself. And they had the new S2. I'd not even heard of the S2 to this point. They had them in brand new that morning. And they had and I rented that guitar. That is now my main Cradle of Filth guitar. I rented it just to do the show.
Yeah.
And then I was going to return it the next day. Did the show with it and was like, this, I don't have to think. It feels amazing. Everything is exactly how I want it to be. Sounds amazing. Brilliant. And basically they turned around and said, well, there's a slight ding on it from the costume. There's a slight ding on the guitar. So we're going to have to charge you for this repair work. I was like, don't worry about it. I'm buying it.
Right.
And because of Canada's conversion rate, I got the guitar half the price I would have got it. So I basically got it for 700 quid.
Blimey. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was, the S2s are like 1,400 quid over here.
Yeah.
They're 1,400 Canadian dollars, which is 700 quid.
Right.
So I was like, I'm just going to buy it here.
Yeah.
I was thinking of buying a new guitar anyway. Now's a perfect. It actually worked out cheaper than my endorsement. So I was like, I'm just going to buy it. So I got the S2 by accident, and I ended up going, this is such a great guitar. And the SEs, like I've got a couple of the newer SEs. I've got a 7-string. I've got the Mark Holcomb SE.
Right.
The SEs, to me, are getting phenomenal.
Yeah.
Where were these? Like this is the first ever Santana SE, right? First ever one, version 1.
Right.
Which we only had for 1 year. Then we had version 2, which lasted 1 year. Now version 3, which is the one they've stuck with ever since. So this guitar is actually quite rare now, but it's probably not actually worth that much because it was everywhere. I'd probably get about 100 quid for it if I wanted to sell it, which is the only reason I've never sold it, and the sentimental value.
Yeah.
But the Holcomb SE that I've got and the 7-string, they are phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal,
Yeah.
especially for the money. To the point where, and this is why I said I've got to be honest, I would probably be hard pressed to buy another core ever again.
Blimey.
I think they're worth way too much for what they are.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, the S2s and the SEs are phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I've already got plenty of cores to keep me happy.
Yeah.
I don't feel the need to buy another core. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The goal for me was to own. Well, to be fair, I was originally going to buy a Gibson Les Paul.
Right.
Because my love of the Les Pauls. But every single one I tried when I went to play it against Sam, I didn't like them. I've tried about 20 Les Pauls.
Right.
And I was like, don't really get on with it.
Yeah.
And they are still brilliant guitars. I love Les Pauls. They are brilliant. There's just something about them I just don't personally get on with.
No.
But they are brilliant guitars. And then that's when the guy went, have you heard of PRS? I was like, yeah, like loads of my favourite players using it. He's like, try that. And that was that guitar.
Right.
That I bought, that Custom 24.
So you must.
And I was like, well, I've got a Santana. I've got a Santana SE already, but I was going to buy the Gibson Les Paul as my finance guitar. And then I tried for Custom 24 and just went, I think it's a no-brainer. I think I'm a PRS guy. That was it.
You must know Mark Hopkin from Guitars for You. He used to be at...
Yes. Yeah. I've met him a few times.
Yeah. All my... Well, not all. Most of my PRS have come through him, partly because he's always looked after me and always does a good deal. But yeah, I mean, I've bought a couple on finance over the years. Yeah, the first, because I came from Les Pauls. I've got a couple of gold tops and some, I think, a tobacco sunburst Les Paul at the point, and I'd always been aware of PRS, and some of them, I always liked the look of them, but my favourite bands were playing Les Paul, so I was playing Les Paul, and then the single cut came out, and I just had to have one. So from whatever, let me just remember this. The first one I had was a blue single cut that only just come out. Whale blue, a non-10 top, non-10 top and moon, so it was cheaper. Always nice. Because I do prefer the sort of plain looking PRS. So I'm not a
I'm similar. To be fair.
And that I can remember, it was high up in whatever it was called. I don't know whether it was Play Again Sam or whatever it was called at the time in Derby, and it was high up above the sort of arch bit there. And, but I don't know why I got rid of that. And then I had two single cuts for a while. I had a gold top one, again no birds, and I had a McCarthy burst one, again no birds. That I put some of those Gibson, are they P94s, the ones that are like a P90 but they fit in a humbucker size.
I think so. Yeah. I think I know.
And that guitar sounded fantastic. I know where that went as well. In fact, that guitar, I've said this before, I think I might have said it before on this video, but that guitar, the McCarthy burst one, I got rid of that and got from Mark when he was at Mark at Ashbourne, Mark Hopkins. I got a G&L teletype, an American one, and I chopped the McCarthy single cut for that. And about a week later, my wife knows this, I won't get in trouble. I went and bought the PRS back, the single cut back, because I just missed it so much. And I thought, why have I got this? It was a great guitar, but why have I had this G&L? It's not. And I went and got it back, and then I sold it again for a few months. So I mean, I've had the two that I've got now are two of the best ones that I think I'd never sell this. It's the best electric guitar I've ever played, regardless of whether it's a PRS. The coil tap on it is just so good. And then I haven't got it out at the minute, but I've got what PRS called the Special. It's the one it's humbucker with a single coil in the middle.
Yes.
It's the Rich Hannon's limited edition one that's got the pinstripes around it, which I really like. I mean, it's an ugly guitar, but I love it. But it's got the best. It sounds better than any Strat that I've ever played with this. It's got a single coil in the middle, a Lindy Fralin. I think that's how you say it. One. And you put it with the bridge humbucker split and this single coil, and it sounds better than any Strat I've ever owned. So I would never. These two. I've had probably these two the longest that I've ever owned any PRS. So that tells you that I must like them.
See, this is the thing. I've just seen I didn't sell many guitars. I've sold guitars. I've sold a couple of PRSs. I think I've sold a couple of PRSs. I think people were surprised that I sold because I used them all the times in all inline bands and stuff, and people I think associated me with this like satin single cut trem, and I sold that because it was a workhorse, but I kind of had no sentimental attachment to it. Even though I used it all the time, it was really weird. I was like, I feel nothing for this guitar. It does the job and it does it very, very well, but I don't feel anything for it. And then when I was trying to make some space for another guitar I was thinking of getting, I was like, that's the obvious one to go.
Yeah.
And I know who's got it. It's one of my students, weirdly enough, and he loves it, looks after it for me. But yeah, talking about weirdly enough Strats, best Strat, because I've got a Strat, but
lovely,
good old Silver Sky.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about
honestly,
that.
When this turned up, literally for the first 5 minutes when it turned up, I was like, oh God, what have I done? I hate it. Oh my God. 5 minutes later, I went, this is the best Strat I've ever played in my life. It's amazing.
Don't tell me that. I only want one enough.
It's honestly, it's brilliant. The pickups are astounding. The neck and the radius is bang on. It just, I know it doesn't look it, but it feels like a vintage Strat. Right. It sounds like a vintage Strat. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. I was very, very lucky to be one of the first to get this in the UK, actually.
Right. Yes,
me and Rob from Jamiroquai.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then basically he's pretty much on PRS now. He's got his DGT and his Silver Sky. The DGT and Silver Sky, he swears by those now. Very rarely takes his Strats on tour. Yeah. And he was known as a Strat player for decades.
Yeah. No, I like
to show how good they are.
Yeah. I like the look of the Silver Skies that have come in with the maple fretboard.
Oh, yeah, they were lovely. I wish, had I known they were coming out, I wish I'd held on.
Yeah.
Because I just got them as soon as it came out. I was like, it's like, because I love Strats, but there were just things that I wish they'd changed on them.
Yeah.
That's what the Silver Sky is. Basically, it's almost like they went in my brain and went, what do you like about Strat? We'll keep them. What don't you like? We'll change them. Yeah. And as soon as it came out, I was like, it's literally like they said, we'll build you the perfect Strat for me.
Don't tell me anymore. Don't tell me anymore, because I'll be in guitar otherwise. Yeah. Right. So, we could probably do another hour and a half just about talking about guitar. So
we probably could, to be fair.
No, thank you. It's been really great chatting. Thank you for doing that. I've really enjoyed it. And
I've really enjoyed it as well. Thanks for having me on.
It's it's always nice to meet people who obviously love the guitar as much as I do. So that's which I don't know. Maybe sometimes we can love the guitar too much.
I always wonder, but I don't know if it's possible.
Yeah. I know. I don't know. It can't be possible, can it? You can't. You can't. I wish I'd not said that now.
It's just one of those things where I don't know. Like you, I think I'm very, very fortunate. I discovered what I wanted to do with my life very early on.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't get that. They don't find their passion early on, and I think we're very, very lucky that we did, and it's become a lifelong thing. And the beauty of guitar, as you know, as a guitar teacher as well, I'm very, very fortunate. Like, I make a living from playing guitar, even without being in Cradle of Filth. Way before I was still teaching and performing and earning a living from it. But the beauty of guitar and the curse of playing guitar is that we can never learn everything. We can never be the greatest guitar player on the planet. But by God, the journey is the fun part.
I tell you what,
trying to be better is fun.
One of the best bits is when parents of one of my students ring me up and say, "We're thinking about buying Johnny a guitar. What do you recommend?" Right, I'll spend somebody else's money. I like that. What's your budget? I do like that.
What's your budget? Let's double it.
Yeah.
No, I would never do that. No. I do. That's first question. What should we get?
Yeah.
What's your budget? It's honestly the first question, because I go, I'm the worst person to ask. I've got very expensive taste when it comes to guitar. I'm very cheap. My girlfriend can verify this. I'm very cheap on everything else. I'm like, no, save money, everything. When it comes to guitars, I'm like, yeah, but it's my job. That's the excuse.
Yeah. Right then, mate. Thank you for that. So
you're welcome.
Yeah, just do we need to still say stay safe? Maybe not quite at the moment, but we might have to in a few weeks.
Not as much, but I'm still saying it to everybody.
Yeah. All right, mate. Thanks for that. See you later.
No worries. Take care. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.